Good afternoon, Todd Bolding, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today, Todd?
Doing wonderful, thank you. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, Todd, like I said earlier, I'm fantastic. I have no complaints because you wouldn't listen anyway, right?
I would, but nobody else will listen. So.
No one else will listen. So, Todd, welcome to what we call Lending with Purpose. These are conversations with clients and friends, intro to various forms of information, professionals like yourself, resources that we use, we look for, never knew existed or wanted to learn more about. So, thank you for this. Just real quick, we had kind of talked earlier, and I said I typically start with a story. I was actually going to tell a story about how we talked about making good decisions. You remember that?
I
Uh,
do. I do.
so you didn't get a chance to talk to my kid yet, but but I remember we were kind of getting re-engaged with each other a few months ago because we've known each other for some time now, a few years. And your daughter was actually in the car, and I was like, "Whoops, my bad." And he's like, "No, keep talking. Don't worry about it because she's heard all this before." And so it's funny and it's kind of strange how, Todd, when you are talking like our kids, right?
Right.
We tell them till we're blue in the face and we love them more than anything in the world, and we always want what's best for them, and we'll tell them based on our experiences and such. And then a total stranger comes in and spends 5 minutes telling them the same thing that you spent, what, your daughter's what, 13, 14 years old,
14,
right?
yeah.
14 years of her life, approximately, I would assume, saying this in 5 minutes, I was able to get through to her. And so that's the story I really wanted to tell. And we talked about making good decisions and good choices. So thanks to your daughter, she made me feel good that day because she said that I was able to clearly articulate to her why it was important to make good decisions. I
Yeah,
think that's what she
she
said.
didn't like the way I said it. Apparently, you had a way of articulating it that was much more grandiose than I've ever done. So
That's funny. And so, lastly, Todd, we had talked briefly about this. So we started this back at the beginning of the pandemic, and so I know you have a great podcast, and I've been seeing some really good conversations that you've been having and posting on LinkedIn and such. And you mentioned you like to get face to face with people, and so that was the original idea with this. I'm in my home office now, but downstairs, Todd, I created this sort of a studio. So I got really bored one weekend. I went and got some reclaimed wood. I put it up on the walls and stuff. I got some lounge furniture, and I just created this little spot downstairs in my basement. And I've got some studio equipment, the podcasting equipment, and microphones and such, lights, all that good stuff. And so the idea behind it, because our kids were getting older, there are more activities. We're becoming more friendly, more familiar with the parents of the children that they know and like. And so, Ty, how cool would it be if you and your wife and your kids are over and we're having, we're having dinner or whatever it is that we're doing? We get into this great conversation, and I'm like, hold that thought. Let's go downstairs and let's record it, and we're gonna just talk about it, and we're gonna make it history, right? It's gonna live forever. And so then, like, I don't know, maybe a week later, boom, we're sheltered in place. And I look up and I had the opportunity, which I didn't really know much about. Like, so on LinkedIn, I had this little red icon on my profile. And with that icon, it allowed you to go live and do live stream. But what I realized is that my time was running out to have the ability. It was during the time where they were beta testing people. And so only a few of us had access to do that. And so I said, you know what, Todd, everybody's reaching out to me, asking me questions about, I got to homeschool my kids now. I have no idea how to do that and what that means. Shawn, what happens if I lose my job? I can't pay my bills and such. How's my credit going to be affected? Realtors are like, man, how are we going to get our contracts ratified and, closed and such? So I'm like, well, I can probably tell you what I think, but I got this live stream thing now. Let me start inviting people on, and they can help answer the questions. You hear it straight from the horse's mouth. So that's how this whole thing got started. And I really appreciate you being a part of it. It was great to get reconnected with you. I think you're an amazing guy. You've always been a great leader, and just looking forward to having this conversation with you today. So with that said, Todd Bowden, you're going to do a much better job, I promise, at introducing yourself than I will. So tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll get into our conversation.
Well, that depends on whether or not your kids are listening or mine.
All right, I'm going to replay it for my kids, and just
Your
assume
kids
they're
will
listening.
listen, mine won't. So, first of all, hey, I'm really humbled that you think enough of me to ask me, to spend time with you on the airwaves here, because I also think that you are a fantastic leader, and I think that's why we've connected, because leadership, unfortunately, is just one of those things that it's going the way of the white buffalo, man. It doesn't exist anymore. Not on a large scale, and it just seems like everybody's got an agenda rather than helping an individual. And a lot of the concept that we use is about people. I mean, because that is the one common denominator in every business. The business benefits people somehow. I mean, you can't point to one that doesn't. And if that's the common denominator, then we got to treat one another the right way. So anyway, the way you started your podcast, okay, during the pandemic, everyone was clamoring for this because it's social interaction. We're human beings. We're social animals. We need that. And unfortunately, I think we're already slipping back into the habits that, some of the bad habits that we were able to get out of during the pandemic.
Yeah, we are. What did you? Let me ask you. What was one of the, I don't know, the top things that you learned during the pandemic? Like, because I know you're a guy that probably does a good bit of self-reflection. But like, what did you learn during that time frame? Like your key takeaway, if you had to choose one.
I think it was kind of what I just touched on. It was the importance of social interaction. I mean, our kids not going to school, that was horrible for them. Those are very formative years, when they're in elementary school, middle school, even high school. I mean,
Hey, I think I lost you, Todd. I'm sure you'll be back in, but we were starting a really good conversation. So we'll get Todd back in here in a second. I'm not there. He is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Just all of a sudden, I was gone.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I held it down for the 30 seconds that we lost. So keep going.
Well, it's again, it's the social interaction. It's if you think in terms of, I referenced buffalo earlier. Buffalo is a herd animal. Okay. They cannot be effective by themselves. And human beings are very much the same way. We're social animals. We're herd animals. It's why everybody congregates in big metropolitan areas versus, living off the grid. I mean, very, very few, reality shows about somebody's day-to-day life in the city are out there. But man, people love those ones where, somebody's just living by themselves off the grid in Alaska. Why? Because that's something that people aren't familiar with. So that was the biggest thing. I wouldn't say I learned it. It was just reinforced how important we are to one another.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so like tribe and trust, leadership. Let's talk about that. As anybody can see, if you're watching this, Todd's he's a military guy. You spent how long you were in the Marines? Is that right?
I was in the Marine Corps for almost 15 years.
Right. Wow, awesome. And I know that has been a big part of the principles that you have as well. But like, let's talk about the art of military leadership. You talk about the science, which was intriguing to me when we talked about the science of human behavior. So like, what is the tribe and trust leadership?
So tribe and trust is a name or, a concept, if you will, it was actually born out of two things. Okay. So everybody knows that we have I shouldn't say everybody. Most people know that we have a very big problem in corporate America with retaining employees and employees who are not engaged every day at work. So what ends up happening is you've got this major problem with only 20% of the United States workforce is fully engaged at work. That means when I show up to work for you, if I'm not fully engaged, you may be paying me $1, Shawn, but maybe I'm only giving you 80 cents worth of work. Maybe I'm only giving you 20 cents worth of work. And so to be able to quantify that, these two issues, the turnover and the lack of engagement, that's really where Tribe and Trust was born out of, because those are the two things that fix the problem. Okay. A sense of tribe and trust in the direction of the organization, trust in the leadership of the organization. And so I actually was making a presentation. So I'd love to say that, that I came up with the idea. I put Tribe and Trust as the name of a presentation, and this buddy of mine, who I was showing it to get his feedback, he said, that's the name of your company right there, because that encompasses exactly what you do. And I thought, what do I owe you? And he said, buy me a beer and we'll call it even. And so now I own it.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's pretty amazing. So you were pulling it all together, doing the presentation, and you said that's what you should name it. And so, like, what is did that come from, like, your military leadership? Let's talk about the art of the military leadership. Like, how is that experience that you've had played into your belief system, like in regards to, tribe and trust? Is that a part of military, and is it a part of like some training that you've had to keep your teams together and to have high performing teams?
Yeah, the art of military leadership. So the concept behind Tribe and Trust, to take it another step, is the art combining the art of military leadership with the science of human behavior. The reality is they're both very similar. Okay. But the art of military leadership, for people who have not been in uniform and served this country in that capacity, everyone looks at, shows about boot camp, or, there's always some kind of yelling or screaming from this guy, in an authority position, to this guy down here. You'll do it because I say to do it. That is the biggest misnomer about military leadership. The art of military leadership is knowing your buttons, knowing how to get you to do. It's getting to know you so that I know how to influence you to do those things that accomplish the mission. Because leadership is really about two things. Okay. As I was leading Marines, I learned I have the responsibility to accomplish the mission and take care of the troops. Okay. So accomplish the mission, troop welfare. You cannot accomplish the mission if you don't have any troops. So you better take care of them. And by the way, burning through the troops to accomplish the mission, there's always a follow-on mission, and you're still going to need those troops. And unfortunately, I think if corporate America saw a situation where they didn't have the ability to go out and get more people, they'd treat those people they had a lot better than they do. So that the art of military leadership is knowing your people, and not just getting to know them from a work standpoint. Understanding their family. If somebody's not giving you everything they got and they normally do, there's probably something going on in outside of work, and you need to sit down and ask them about that. You're going to get a lot more loyalty by getting to know your people.
Right. And so, great leaders like yourself, right? You that's inherent to you, and maybe you learned it. I'm not sure, but I just think that's the right way to be and the right thing to do. So why is it such a problem? Why is it an issue to do the right thing and have that sort of a belief? Because at the end of the day, there's not many things that we can accomplish alone, right? And so when we're moving in a direction with a team of people to accomplish something bigger and greater than ourselves, or just accomplish something, right? Like,
right.
If you burn through those people, then the next go around, like you mentioned, you're left with nothing, and then you end up continuing to lose. Hence the fact that you talked about paying someone and you're only getting 20 cents worth or 20% worth of work, right? That kind of thing. So why is that hard and difficult for companies and leadership to grasp. I personally don't. It seems like it's common sense to me, but why is that so difficult?
Well, it is common sense, and listen, the great misnomer about leadership is that either you're born a good leader or you're not. And that's, you may be born with certain inherent things like, the capacity to or the capacity for compassion. Okay. Some people are more compassionate than others, but leadership skills are taught, they're learned, and they have to be honed over time. Okay. I can't tell you why some people aren't concerned with, with the feelings of others or, the well-being of others. That is something that only those people can really answer for themselves. What I can tell you though, is that if, a lot of people reference Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay.
Thank you for that. Are you going to break that down? Because I've been waiting. This is why I'm here, Todd. So you can break that down.
Okay. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Abraham Maslow was a psychologist, back in the 40s and 50s. He was very prominent. He came up with this pyramid that talks about the hierarchy of needs, and it basically is how we are motivated as human beings. And on the very bottom level, it is the need for food and water. Okay. Essentially sustenance. And then at the next rung, it is, at the next rung, it's shelter and security. Okay. Feeling safe. And then in the middle, way out of whack, is the need for love and belongingness. And I mean, first of all, you could really question a lot of his study and the research and the way he did it. But I mean, it's a great stepping off point nonetheless to have this conversation. The reality is modern thinking, and I think there's a lot of different ways that you can apply this, but or reinforce it with examples. Modern thinking takes that middle rung and puts it down next to the need for food and water. And you look at people that are, that are homeless, okay, people on the streets, okay, they have food. I mean, people give them food. You can see that. I mean, but what they don't have a lot of times is that love and belongingness. That's tribe, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't, earn that position because of bad choices that they made, okay? I don't want to ignore that. But the bottom line is that the need for love and belongingness is every bit as important and as prevalent as food and water. And what we don't do in corporate America, okay, and I've seen it time and again, is we don't stop to ask somebody, hey, is there a bigger reason behind why you didn't hit that metric? What can we do to help you get there? Think about when somebody says to you, Shawn, I really like your podcast. Or, man, I can't tell you how good I felt walking into that home, and I owe it to you because you took the extra step that nobody else would. Okay. That makes you feel good. Okay. That's the love and belongingness. And it's every bit as important as, hey, screw it, I got paid. That's all I needed. So
is that why it's important? Like those techniques is to have better morale so that your team can perform better, but also for you to be able to, like you said, to understand what someone's going through. Because I wasn't in the military, and I don't profess to know a whole lot, right? But I would tend to believe, like, if you're on a mission or something like that, you want your team to be at as close to 100% mentally in regards to their mindset to carry out that mission, right?
Absolutely.
But if they have something that's taking them away from that and you don't know about it, then you put yourself at risk, you put your team at risk, the country or whatever it is, the mission at risk. And so is that the reason why this is important, like using these techniques?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, I mean, the techniques are really just a matter of have a heart, care, ask, just check in on somebody. I mean, we've got somebody that has been coming to the house here to help us around the house for a long time. Found out from her this morning that, that her mother passed away like a year and a half ago. She never told me. Okay. Now I didn't, I never thought to ask, hey, is your mom still with us? But, taking the time to let her get that off. And I could tell when she got it off her chest, how important it was to her. Okay. I mean, let's be as real as we can. She keeps our house. Okay. But still taking the time to ask her that and let her get that emotional, empty her emotional bucket a little bit. That's important to people.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So you're a leadership coach,
Mm-hmm.
and consultant. I know you from the mortgage space.
Yep.
We spent some time together in that space, but you've you changed directions, and
Yes.
I mean, well, actually, you know what, Todd? I don't even know if I would call it a change of direction because you've always been doing this. So you're helping companies now, and so like, how long have you've been coaching leaders? I'm sure I got an idea of the kind of answer you're going to give, but like, tell us how long you've been coaching leaders.
I mean, I have been informally coaching leaders for over 30 years. I mean, even before I got in the Marine Corps, I was doing it in some capacity, but the Marine Corps and the art of military leadership is putting processes behind it and understanding that, you ask any Marine, hey, what do you need to be successful? What do you need from me? And they're going to tell you, I need a mission and I need your, what we call commander's intent, which is a vision. Okay. I need your mission and a vision, and I know what to do. So, the Marine Corps just put a lot of process and a lot of framework around it for me. But I mean, the very first time I remember being in a leadership position in the Marine Corps, I was the platoon guide. Okay. So that's like the head recruit. And, I was a little older than some of the kids. And so I think I was a little more mature, and they saw that. So they put me in it. Well, the first time I was really kind of challenged with something, I had this, this young recruit who, this kid was from Alaska, and he did not belong in the Marine Corps. I don't know how his recruiter got him through it. Because I mean, I think just mentally he wasn't all there. And I'm saying he didn't even know his left from his right. And that's a literal statement.
Mm.
And so, we came up with, I got a couple of squad leaders together. So, hey, we're going to keep getting in trouble here for things he does. We got to help him and figure this out. So, we came up with the idea, while everybody else is stepping off on their left foot, he's stepping off on his right foot. So we take this white piece of tape and put it up under the bill of his cover, or, cap. And, we put it off over here so that he could mentally trigger to say, okay, I need to step off with my left foot. Now he was a little slower, but he did figure out to step off with his left foot. And so that was kind of the first trusting that we had, trusting in this group, coming together as a tribe. Okay. I mean, we were a tribe within a tribe, coming together with those guys to figure out a solution so that this kid, and he felt horrible. I mean, this kid felt bad. He was so out of water, or so out of his element. But we did get him, a couple weeks further down the road. And then unfortunately he was sent home because he shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Oh, wow. So based on your current experience and the things that you're doing right now, and just over your sort of corporate career, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the leadership challenges you've seen? But like, let's speak about today. Like, what are some of those challenges? How do we address them? What kind of like tips and tricks or recommendations do you have to deal with that? So it's we're gonna pack everything into one question, but like, so to just reiterate, Todd, like what type of leadership challenges are you seeing today? And like, how do you tell people to kind of overcome?
So the best way for me to describe this is it all has to start with a very clear vision. Okay. We are lacking a sense of tribe, and we are lacking trust in one another. And this is, corporate America is in some ways a microcosm of the entire United States in this regard. But in order for us to start to gain some of that trust back, all right, so I want you to think about a map. I want you to think about a treasure map. Okay. There is an X on that map. Now, I'm asking my people to help get me to that X on the map. They have no idea what they're going to go through, but they're probably going to go through swamps of alligators. They're probably going to go through fording rivers that can sweep them away and kill them. They're going to go through harsh realities. If you want them to be resilient, you have to clearly articulate what that X is, where they're going. And then, more importantly, you have to make sure they know what's in it for them. Because people, as much as they want to do things for one another, as much as they want to help one another, there's got to be something in it for them. I mean, God help me for saying this, but even Mother Teresa, okay, all the wonderful things she did, she got something out of it. And it may have just been satisfaction, and that's okay. But you still have to be able to clearly articulate to people what's in it for them. And it can't be a paycheck, because life is way more about purpose than a paycheck.
So are you seeing the clarity being an issue a lot of times with the leadership, where they can't necessarily articulate and be clear about what that purpose is?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of them have a clue, to be honest with you, Shawn. And that's not me being, I'm not trying to talk down.
No, it's hard. It's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, leadership, again, this has to be thoughtful. Okay. And not everybody is taught. I mean, I was fortunate. I went through an organization, where I had years of very specific leadership training. And a lot of that training wasn't, it's not just in a classroom, by the way. It's reinforced on a day-to-day basis. It's people that, quite honestly, if you look at it from a hierarchy standpoint, were working for me. Okay. And they have to have the trust to come to me and say, hey, sir, we're getting ready to kick this in the stands if you do it this way. So I think you really need to consider doing this. And then me having the trust in them to say, hey, you're right, and not feel judged because of something that, wasn't right. I don't know if I made that real clear, but, the bottom line is we've totally lost a sense of tribe in this country. We've totally lost trust in one another. And we have to do things, like I was saying, we've got to get better at articulating where we're going and what's in it for people. Just as one small glimpse into the overall package to round out the answer to your question.
No, that's good, and I appreciate that. It makes a lot of sense. Well, so the last part about this, in regards to your coaching and consultancy, like, what do you recommend, like training programs and such? Someone like myself, we have a team. We're a small team. I'm maybe struggling with some of these challenges that we talked about, or don't even know that there are challenges and kind of leaks in the bucket, right? To
Sure.
be able to help my team perform better, to be able to help me be a better leader, right? What like programs do you recommend for leaders and future leaders?
Well, there's, first of all, when you talk about the coaching aspect of things, a coach is like, if you had me coaching you, okay, and let's say that you manufactured widgets, not loans. Okay, I don't have to know about your business to coach you, because a good coach is really somebody that asks good questions, makes you think about, what you're doing, why you're doing it. And they really kind of put you in a position to be intentional about everything you're doing. They're an accountability partner as much as anything. Okay. My wife, great example. She keeps me accountable to certain things. Now, do I know to do this, that, or the other? Of course I do. But if I don't do it, or I'm failing to do it, effectively, she holds me accountable. And that's really what coaching is. Now, as far as an organization, because, part of what I do is coaching, but there's also some consulting. And what companies need sometimes is just to bring somebody in and say, hey, look at this thing from a 10,000-foot view. Because, the individuals are walking through the forest and they're looking at every tree that they're passing. And so what's important is for somebody else to come in and look at it from like I said, 1,000, 10,000 foot view and, point some things out. And we would call it in the Marine Corps an operational pause. Sometimes you have to just pause the operation, take a deep breath, make sure that you're checking the oil, make sure you got air in the tires, because if you don't, it's going to break down when you're, when you really don't want it more than anything else to break down.
Got it. No, that's good, man. This has been, Todd, a really good conversation. I don't want you to give away all of your trade secrets and such, because you got a program that you do for people, and so and companies and leaders like myself. And so tell us, like, how can we help you? Like, what can we do to help you? And then how can we connect with you?
Well, I mean, my Tribe and Trust is my website. I'm easily findable on LinkedIn. I'll talk to anybody about anything, and I'm not always looking to get paid to do it. I mean, I spent, a couple hours yesterday with some young men who are, under the age of 35, and they're kind of trying to find their way in the business world. People did that for me, and I'll do it for them, and I'll do it for others. If somebody is wanting to go a little deeper and fix a problem, or, they're looking for that accountability coach, man, reach out to me. I'm happy to have a conversation. It's not a hard thing to do. It's just a matter of committing to do it. And we can say that about anything in life, to be honest with you.
Yeah, commitment's tough. I had someone yesterday. So Todd, I've been walking a lot. Just started off just something to do, and it was competition amongst friends, but also to kind of try to stay as healthy as I possibly can. I think when we last spoke, I was on a walk. I was going for a walk.
Yeah.
So I was hitting it hard, like 3 to 5 miles a day. And so I've been struggling this week. It's a little cold here. You don't really have that problem, like maybe for you, because if it
I'm sweating today.
yeah, exactly. So you don't really have that big of a problem. But this past week or so, I've been struggling. And so I told someone yesterday, they asked how I was doing, and I was like, if you want me to be honest, I'm struggling a little bit. And I said, I don't know what it is. I have this anxious feeling, and it's kind of weird, kind of a weird feeling. And she said, because she knows I've been walking, have you been walking? And I was like, about that, not really. So she said, then you need to go and walk that weird off.
Interesting.
And so speaking of accountability, and so I did that, and I've been feeling really good. And as soon as we finish this conversation today, I'm going to, debrief a little bit, and then I'm going to go on a walk. And that's been helping a lot. And so I'm telling that story is because we were talking about accountability. And so that's been real helpful. And it's what I do know about you, Todd, is you always add a tremendous amount of value. I appreciate what you said earlier about, like, it doesn't always have to be about the money, because it always comes back around. You mentioned that there's got to be something in it for people, and so the giving aspect, there's no greater feeling for some people than giving, right?
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, what that does is you set yourself up. If it just took me a long time to understand this, is that you set yourself up to actually be someone that can receive as well, right? Because it's selfish for me to tell you no and not receive something from you, because I enjoy giving. So, like, why do I want you not to go through the same feelings? Like we talked about love and belongingness. Why wouldn't I want you to go through that same thing? And so we, really appreciate you for that. And I appreciate you for that. And you can be just fine, and you always are. And I just recommend that anybody out here, you connect with Todd if you can. Definitely connect. Todd, I put your website up again, Tribe and Trust. So before we wrap up,
yes, sir.
I don't know if you've thought about who you want to talk to, but Todd, you get one person, you get one question. Who would it be, and what would you ask? One person, one question. Who would it be? What would you ask?
First of all, I love that question. I really, really do. I think it would be, I would want to sit down with George Washington. And
Okay.
I would want to ask him the question, was it worth it? And it's the context behind the question is, if you look at where we are today and you look at all the things that, that are happening, is what you went through worth it looking back? And I think that the answer to that would be absolutely. We've gone through some rough patches as a country, but I would just want to hear his answer to that.
We remember I said that we've had hundreds of these conversations, and I think we've had a few. I think we had one of the founding fathers, but we haven't had George Washington before. That's pretty neat. But why would you ask George Washington? Like, why would that be the
I'm glad you went deeper on that, because the sacrifices that were made, and I look at, I'm very involved in a charity here called Carry the Load, and Carry the Load is about making sure that we do Memorial Day right. And for those who aren't aware, and again, I hope I don't, sound, anyway, Memorial Day is making sure that we honor those who never got to take off the uniform. And they died for you and they died for me. And in fact, one of my really good friends, yesterday was the anniversary of his death. And he didn't know you, but I promise you, he would tell you that you were worth it. And it's very important to me that we, that we look at every situation like that. People are worth it. And I just think that, the sacrifices that George Washington made, even though he didn't die in uniform, he made sacrifices. Those founding fathers made sacrifices that, none of us will ever fully understand. And, I just have a lot of appreciation for any of those guys, who paved the way, any of the great people in this country who have paved the way and made sacrifices. You said something earlier, it triggered Barack Obama said something in his presidency that he was very maligned for. And it was about, that, even though you've accomplished this, what he was trying to say is it took everybody coming together. Maybe one person does the one thing that gets it from here to here, and that's the big accomplishment, but they couldn't have done it without everybody sacrificing before him. And I totally agreed with him. It just didn't come out, the way I think he intended it to come out. But anyway, long-winded answer to get to your question. So
no, that's why Thursday is one of my favorite days of the week. Like, I get to have these conversations, like I said, with my clients and friends like yourself. So no, this is great. I love the question. I guess too bad you won't be able to get it answered, because I'd love to hear the answer too as well.
I'll get it answered one day, but
not right now. Now, you don't.
Not right now.
We talk about you don't want to miss a day anytime soon. So,
not anytime soon.
Yeah. So, Todd, it would be just such a shame, man, for me to know people like you and not to be able to share them with the network. So, everybody, I really appreciate you listening today. If there's anything that I can do, we can do to help you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out. Everybody still remain as safe and as healthy as you possibly can. I think we're back next week. I forget who the guest is, but we're back next week. Todd, if I could ask you to hang on one more minute with me, but
sure.
Thank you for joining today. And I really appreciate you. I'm glad we got reconnected too.
Thank you, Shawn. I'm humbled.